Yes, you're going to have people turn their backs, but it's time for us to keep it real. Just keep talking that real, bro. Do what you do. I know what you do, so keep doing that. Talk the real.
The HBI lads will see you now. See you now. See you now.
I don't want to cause no problems. I just want to live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense.
And we're back. HBI podcast, health, business, and in between. My name is Dr. Nathan Bridger. I am a chiropractor working out of North Fremantle Chiropractic. Surprise, surprise, in North Fremantle, Perth, Western Australia. And I am joined, as always, by the dangerous duo. We're going to start with the man with a hairstyle that I don't even know what to say about it. It's flowing in the party in the front, bad times in the back is the way I'm going with it today. Our physiotherapist extraordinaire, Mr. Ben Humphries.
I think it's more business up front, party at the back, because if you look at me from front on, it looks like my old hairdo, but then I turn on the side, then it's like
he's old gangster.
Mate, if I look at you from front on, you remind me of a sperm that watched too much Happy Days. Like you're like the Fonz as a sperm. I don't know where I'm going with it, but it freaks me out a bit.
I don't get that reference either.
No. Oh, too young. He's too young.
Too young.
You are welcome for the cheeky little tag in the meme this week. I hope the missus enjoyed that one.
On yours?
On the facey, your little when she looks at your mullet photo.
Oh, that was gold, bro. I showed her and she's like, she loved it too.
I was like, it's one of the, when you see a meme and you're just like, if I don't tag this person, it's a disservice to humanity. That's what happened right there.
I'll show Mina, but introduce Mina while I'm fine.
No, well, listen, we haven't forgot about him. How could you forget about him? He is the businessman. He is the big part. He is the B in HBI. He is the man, the myth, the assassin himself. My therapist, Mina Garris. How are we?
I'm really good. How are you boys going?
Mate, so good. Life's good. We're all back in business. Bro. We're all seeing people again. Not that Benny ever stopped. If anything, Benny got busier. But the rest of us who stopped seeing people, we're seeing people again.
I need to sleep.
Mate, you need to calm down.
Such a good meme. I know.
You remind me. I was listening to Rogan interview Bert Kreisner the other thing, and they were talking about how like all the other comedians were like, "Bert, you're touring like it's going to go away, like it's going to stop existing soon." This is how you're physioing at the moment, mate. You're physioing so hard. It's like you're afraid that tomorrow the world's going to end and you're not going to be able to physio no more.
Like, yeah, I got a weird thing about that. Like if I stop, what's going to happen? I get weird when I get a day off. I'm like, I don't know what to do. We're gonna have to talk about this, mate.
You feel like you're doing a disservice to yourself.
I sleep in and I'm like, oh, who are you? What are you doing? Like you've thrown your life away. You've disgraced your family name. What are you doing?
We're gonna have to do an episode on this, just to like intervention with Ben.
In my head, yeah.
But
it's interesting when when we had that break and I thought that's it, I couldn't treat anymore, and they're telling me now you got to start massaging online.
They've been the worst.
Mate, I believe that's called Reiki.
Right, I'm just like, you know what, stuff this. I'm just gonna quit. But it killed me. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like I didn't realize how much I loved my job until I couldn't do it anymore. And then what it allowed me to do, and I think it's a really good segue into this conversation, is it helped me kind of rebalance how I manage my days and how I manage my staff upon returning. So it was a good chance for me to create scheduling priorities, which enabled me to enjoy the business part as well as the working part. So I know Benny and I grind 12, 14 hours a day. But, in terms of sustainability, how far is that going to take you?
I've aged 10 years in two, so man. I don't recommend it.
It's one of those ones, though, where people like sleep when you're dead. And then I'm always like, yeah, because you'll be dead real soon if you keep that shit up. Like, you'll have all the sleep you want because you'll be like 29 and in the fucking box, man.
Yeah. So a way that I kind of looked at that is I needed to onboard more staff.
Literally.
I needed to onboard more staff so that way I can still keep the business going. I can employ more people in the business, and I've got that time to kind of work on the business versus in the business. So
that comes from what we were talking about the other week, obviously, with that setting up your days and stuff like that. Having that ability to then, what's the word I want to use? Give over some of that responsibility. Which is
trust.
Hard.
It's really hard,
difficult,
especially when it's your business, isn't it? You're just like, don't break my shit. Like,
it's my baby. Don't
work hard. It's like, I will kill you.
Die for this.
Yeah.
Literally, I will kill you.
Yeah.
Well, I think today what we do want to talk about, obviously, and this is one we're all got a bit of a unique aspect on this, is staff and hiring staff and staff options within each of our disciplines, which I think will be very similar and different at the same time. But we were talking, I'm going to do it. This is happening. We were talking before this started. And I have something that I have to get off my chest.
He has to. So I'm not going to stop hearing about it. Go on.
All right, it's happening. It's doing. So anyone who's followed me long enough knows this is a thing that really pisses me off.
Heaps of things piss you off, bro.
I'm better these
every
days.
Week, I reckon.
I did for a while, and I let it go because I just realized it was not negative energy wasn't happening. But every so often, I think you need it.
Yeah.
People that record like video or live or shit while they're driving are literally the worst human beings on this fucking planet. Like,
why?
I don't know where he's at, but if he still exists, Hitler would look at them and he would be disgusted. That's how fucking bad these people are.
That's evil.
Like, what the fuck? Like, here's the thing, right? Like, none of these people, and I know a few, and you're lovely people in general, except for this shit.
For the most part, they're lovely.
But, like, if you fucking, like, what do you fucking think? Like, one, nobody really cares what you're fucking saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, here's my daily health tips on how to have a better life. Yeah, who gives a shit, love? Like, one, or guy. Two, if you're really trying to help people, why are you recording yourself driving? Because people, they pretend like they're not looking at the camera. Yet every 2 seconds, they're looking at the camera. Fucking like, oh, look, there I am again. Still looking good. Still looking fine. Like, if you needed to use that time to help people, just record your voice and use it as like a podcast type thing. Like, what the shit? Like, well, how is driving while staring at your fucking phone not a problem? And then you have the audacity to put it online. It's like waving it in front of the police being like, yo, I'm breaking the law. And then tell people it's there to help them. The level of narcissism is fucking crazy. Like, am I the only one who's seeing this? Like, just, I look at it, I'm like, everyone's
rage.
Like, oh man, the one I saw that everyone's like, there's something like, of course, it's, women comment on women. It's like, babe, you're the best. These are the best. Do more. I'm just like, both of you should never reproduce. Like, if the level of stupidity that's already going, like, there's no more. If we give that to children now, we are in real trouble. Like,
don't compound the stupidity.
And like, there is multiple examples of people die. Like, the worst thing here is if he, whoever it is, crashes into a fucking tree and dies, it's on you, man. So be it.
Yeah.
Sad, on you. But you're probably going to crash into someone else and fucking kill them and their family because you're busy talking about the best way to do a fucking hip thrust. Like, fuck.
It's a bit illogical.
All right, I've got that.
I think we should.
I think that I'm going to make that my own sound.
Fair.
We redo the intro. I'm going to make that's my new soundbite. Somewhere in there is my new soundbite.
Yeah.
But on to actual business. Now that I've got that shit out of me system,
I think we should do a rant and a Dr. Bridger weekly rant, and people actually will tune in just to hear you talk shit about something or someone. Or
you got to be careful about surrounding yourself with negativity though. Like, it sounds a bit woo, but I found when I was looking for problems, I was finding problems.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
I think a rant is appropriate when it's natural, where you see something you're like, actually, that's dumb.
Yeah.
I've already got one for next week. That's how bad this is. Anyway, let's talk stuff. So,
lead us in.
You're the big boss in here, man. Talk business.
Staffing. There's a lot that kind of comes into it when you're mixing the ATO has a lot of involvement when it comes into employment contracts. Employees look a lot for reliability, sustainability within the workplace, and it's also about safety and also about their personal situations, whether they need pay slips, whether you've got them on the books or not. These are things that are really, really critical. And we've seen it, a really pure example happen at the moment where with all the JobKeeper payments and people that haven't kind of been on the books, these people can't even get paid now.
Yeah.
Right?
Entitlements and all that
Yeah.
sort of shit.
Correct. So it's really critical to set up your business thoroughly and accurately, and ensuring that your people are on the right contracts, you've got them on the right agreements. And we had a big meeting with my HR rep at the moment, and we've been discussing something called sham contracts. So sham contracts are essentially contracts that...
All this sounds like to me is, does anyone remember the sham wow?
Wow.
I'm just like, it's like the sham contract. I'm like, probably about as legally binding as all the stuff they said about the sham wow.
It's like it dissolves the Coke. All done.
All done. We're good.
You can drink it again.
Look, we've all kind of been there, and for me, it's just making sure that I look after my staff. And when my staff talk about my business, I have a reputable business that shows that I pay my staff well, I pay my staff on time, they get all their entitlements, and legally we're binding, we're okay, right? Now, a sham contract is, they generally say if it sounds like a duck, looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's most likely a duck. So you can't kind of onboard someone as a subcontractor, have their name on your business card, and then just be a subcontractor. Doesn't work. They are directly, and they are an employee, right? Even if you have a contract that's verbal or handwritten, in the eyes of the ATO, they do not give a shit about your intention.
Yeah.
Right. It's got to be legally binding.
Has to be legally binding. And the lawsuits at the moment, especially in the health industry,
filthy.
Now, in really rare situations, the fine can go up to about $64,000 per person.
Oh,
right.
Yuck.
So it is quite alarming.
Yeah.
So,
and that's important to understand there. That's not just like, that's the fine from the ATO type stuff. It's not also the money that the employee can come after the business for, and vice versa.
Entitled.
Correct. They will come back for entitlements of superannuation and sick leave and annual leave entitlements. So it's also really important to be transparent with your workers. Even if they ask you, can you just pay me cash? You're doing a disservice to your business and your reputation, and it's not the right thing. So sometimes we can be unaware, right? And this is, I guess, you're learning, which is, to me, I was unaware. I kind of just started employing people just, not too long ago. And I initially had one of my guys on a subcontractor agreement. And then it gets quite tricky depending if they've got other jobs or not. So I would really encourage that we're not accountants, we're not lawyers, we're not HR. So this is purely just on our experience. Do not take us as legal. This is not legal advice. But this is purely based on what I've experienced. And that I'd actually migrated my workers from subcontractor to casual employment.
Yeah.
Okay. Even then with casual employment, right, there's only a certain time frame they can actually be on casual employment. So even post a year, you have to be able to offer them at least part-time employment. So there's a few aspects into this, and I'm kind of open for questions if you guys got any questions.
Well, I think for me, I'm going to assume like my industry is the same as both your industries, that
exactly the same.
You see three basic types of contracts usually within the industry. Subcontractor, we have a lot of people moving to what's called a facility lease agreement, and then an employee contract. And subcontractors were like number one for decades. Until the global financial crisis came and the government saw a heap of tradies that were contractors without any future because they had no super. It's one of the things with the subcontractors, you got to pay your own super. And they were like, here comes some rules. And this is where a lot of the health industry is only catching up now. And what I'm seeing, I don't know what it's like for Myo and for physio, but they're still running these antiquated, contracts, and they're getting sprung.
Sham contracts.
Yeah, because they were back in the day, okay.
Yeah.
But rules have changed. So, like, subcontractor, I was on a subcontractor contract a few years back. It was only legal because I was working 2 businesses, and I wasn't doing greater than 80% of my work in one business.
Correct.
And that's one of the few. But even that, just due to seasonal fluctuations, can get really loose in the eyes of the ATO. I don't know about you. It's like I commonly saw, and this is something I think for both employers and employees to be aware of. You commonly will see things still sitting in contracts that are not legally binding anymore. Like we used to have a exclusion zone in ours. It's a violation of the restraint of trade.
Restriction of trade.
Yeah. It's a gentleman's agreement.
Common.
But it's something that's not actually legally enforceable. There was a lot of things in there. And then all that's happened a lot in our industry is everyone's been attempted to be moved into a facility lease agreement, which essentially should just be you are renting a room, right? Like you pay $120 a day room rent, whatever it is, and that. But what they've done is just shift the subcontractor and dress it as a facility lease. All the same stuff, still on a percentage, all these kind of things. And what we're starting to see more and more of, particularly in Cairo, is communication breakdown. And I've seen it from people that have worked for people for like better parts of decades, going and then sending back, hey, here's my bill for $250,000 worth of owed super entitlements. Things get messy when you don't have you're not standing on good legal grounds.
Yeah. So something I kind of want to just explain, and this is maybe for people who are just starting up their own business and maybe about to hire their first employee, right? When you're looking at a subcontractor, if a subcontractor is producing their own clientele, their own bed, okay, you have no jurisdiction over what time they come in and do their job.
Yeah.
Right? If you could literally, if they are sick, they could bring in some other therapist that they know and take over the job. And you have no jurisdiction over that whatsoever. Okay. Yep. So these are the things. If you want to control their times, if you want to control their KPIs, if you want to control what time they start and finish and who they treat
what and they wear,
what they wear, this is where the VIDE comes in. They become an employee, right? Now, an employee under you. Now, you might say, okay, well, look, I'm still quite new. I don't think I'm going to be that busy in order to kind of have them on part-time. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is where we have casual employment. Okay. Where with casual employment, they get a higher rate. So they get automatically an increased 25% loading, and they need to have a minimum of 3 hours with you a day. Okay. Mm-hmm. If there's no work booked for that day, then obviously, they don't have to come in, and that's fine, and you don't owe them anything, right? But if they have, for example, only one session a day, they are still entitled to 3 hours of pay.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. That's good. Makes sense.
Yeah. So there's a lot that kind of comes into that. Once they earn over $480 in that calendar month, you are automatically entitled to pay them super.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are some of the laws that really pertain. Now, if you have a look at it, your basic subcontractor agreement is generally around 50-50 and above. Okay. Now your basic entry level payment, I'm not sure, this is purely for Myo guys, but we offer, I think it's about $29.64 as a level 1 pay point 1. Okay. There's probably another 30 per hour. Okay. Now, when you add obviously tax and super, you're still going to be better off in terms of when you're paying them 50 to 60%.
Yeah, because it's comparable depending on obviously a few variables. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are just the key things that I've personally learned. I've signed up tax declaration forms, superannuation forms. I've got a HR, which is actually from Perth. Her name's Norelle Maedo. She's been my HR rep, and she looks after every single health profession. So regardless of myo, physio, osteo, and I'm happy to put her details up. And she's done all my contracts. I paid $197 per contract, which is a small amount of money to pay. Yeah, it's a small amount of money. Yeah, it's a small amount of money to pay to make sure you're doing the right thing by your staff.
Yeah,
good.
And it's such an easy process to go through. And it gives you a sense of professionalism as well. And then everything obviously gets tracked through Xero, which is a really good way to kind of monitor their pays, their tax threshold. And the other great thing about Xero is you can put their award, which is going to give you automatically what their rate is. So you don't have to sit there and start to guess, what should I pay them? How much should I tax? How much super should I give? And everything's automated through that system. So I'm going through that process at the moment, just getting Xero set up. And I've actually got a meeting with her today at 3 o'clock. But I just think it's a really, really important aspect to make sure that you get 100% right.
It's good.
Because I think I've spoken about this before. I've been on some loose contracts over the years. In fact, I've been at numerous businesses where for the first few months we didn't even have a contract. It was just kind of like a thing. And, like
a verbal agreement. Yeah.
The problem is we're health practitioners, right? You will hear this theme over and over again. Our job, we like to help people. The problem is we often forget to help ourselves. Yeah. And I've seen countless people get taken for rides, promised the world and delivered nothing because there wasn't a contract in place, or there wasn't a contract in place beforehand. And you need that, because I've seen countless times when things start to break down, and the simple fact is with any relationship, there's going to be some breakdown. Now, that doesn't mean it falls apart. All relationships have challenge, but if you don't have a clear guide on where you stand on things, it's very hard to come back to it, right?
Boundaries.
If like this happened recently when I was before I moved to Perth, there was a sudden change in the way I was being paid. And when I questioned it, I was just told that's how it is. And when I went back and said, hey, no, contractually, that's not how it is.
Yeah.
That's where we saw it. And then, as a business owner, you need to know what your contract says. You signed it. Yeah. You're responsible for it.
It's a contract. You got to abide.
It's a legally binding document.
And to add to that, my other meeting with Narelle, we spoke about transparency. I know that's something that Ben speaks a lot about. I've created like a Google Drive where all my employees have access to this drive, and they get to where by law we have to have a copy of their contract. A copy of the award, so a copy of the massage and health professionals award, where it's visible for them. Also a health and safety document, as well as a super document. Everything that they need to be able to access to say, hey, you guys, you've had the opportunity to review it, and it puts the onus
accessible.
Back on them. It's accessible. So I know, Benny, when I used to work with you, this is something you guys already had up and running, where all our contracts you had visible to us, all your rehab
hard
programs,
copy, soft copy,
hard copy, soft
policies,
copy,
all that sort of shit.
So yeah, that's right. For policies and procedures, that's all visible to your staff. Because it puts an accountability and professionalism on both the business and the safety of your employees.
Legitimacy. And it's, I think a lot of I think we do a part 2 to this because many of us will shoot soon, but a lot of it is not only for the employees' protection, it's for the employers' protection as well. So it's a win-win for both parties. It's like, all right, you guys are protected, and then we're protected as well, because let's say Nate, I've been on a sham contract, through a big physio company in Melbourne and across Australia actually, where I was given a commission subcontractor agreement, but wasn't paid any entitlement, no super, no, obviously nothing else, which was fine. It was more a facility fee subcontractor agreement. Anyway, but if I wanted to be an asshole, because they didn't treat me well at the end, I can go back and, hey, actually I'm entitled for this, this and this.
Yeah.
And that then comes down to a personal decision whether you hit back and say, well, this is what's going to happen. Then you get into the messy fucking legal side of things, which I almost got into when I first started this business 2 years ago, which is a story for another day. But it gets scary. People sending letters of breaches of contract, and you get start talking about lawyers and litigation fees. It's like, fuck this. This is a whole unknown world. So to save that happening, I think it's good to put in those safety measures that you're talking about.
Well, again,
and this is
communication
important.
is key.
Sorry, Nath. Yeah.
Go
This
ahead,
is
mate.
important because we have a lot of upcoming therapists that will listen to this podcast, and we have a lot of people who are starting up their businesses. So, you know, why you're going to try and go through this, and we've already gone through it, and we can kind of teach you guys what not to do and how to kind of best set up your structure. Because once your structure is set up, you've built the backbone of your operation, right? So any new person that gets onboarded, you have the same set of clear processes to make sure that, like this onboarding process, I actually really thoroughly enjoyed because it was so professional. It was so thorough, and I actually felt like I was doing the right thing by my people, and I felt so confident in that process. So if anyone needs any advice, I'll post up Narelle's details, and she purely works with health professionals. That is her target clientele. She's an absolute pleasure to work with. She spends the time with you. She'll give you a couple of free consultations just to kind of get you going, and it's just a really good investment to make sure you've done the right thing legally by yourself, your business, your clients, and everything else. But there's so much more to talk about, and I think we'll kind of keep this one going.
I think this will be a regular sort of stop in. And just, I think to finish on that, there's a really good point you make right there, where as health professionals, we're paid for a service that we're experts in. We are not experts in HR,
business,
contract thing. So we're giving you today is our experience, and you know how we've gotten better at it? We've employed professionals, like you were just saying, man. So it's
coaches.
This is that thing. It's you have people on your team that actually have done the due diligence, who are trained in this thing, and you use them and you pay them for their skills, just like people do for you. So don't think because you're real good at myo, chiro, or physio that you're real good at contracts. Because my experience is that is never the case.
Because I'm not, that's for sure.
And I think we'll have to have the big discussion on the infamous giant that is superannuation at some stage, because I think all of us have seen how nasty that bad boy can get.
Deep in that.
That's a big one.
I'm hands deep in that situation at the moment, so I can definitely give you guys a fair bit.
Well, there it is. There's today's on. Real quick, real simple, but these are where our options lie when it comes to being an employee or employing people for your business. Make sure you're doing it right. Make sure you're getting the right advice, and make sure, number one, communication, transparency is very clear.
Honesty.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed today, please, as always, throw a screenshot up, tag us in it. We love seeing them, and leave us a 5-star review wherever you're getting your sweet, sweet podcasts from. Until next week, be awesome. See you, boys.